This is a sports catastrophe production.
Hey there, hello there, it's Jeff Cutter, and welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this day. I saw clearly that my Pats were 18-0. We were going to try to be 19-0. 60 regular season wins and 3 playoff games. We wanted to be the best undefeated team in NFL history, but then we choked. We choked to the Giants. Da-da-da. Yes, I know that for me, it's something I have rarely watched, except for that one highlight of Eli Manning getting out of that sack attempt. But I knew that basically I had to take it with a grain of salt. And it is the moment for February 3rd. Yes, February 3rd, 2008, one of the biggest upsets in NFL history happened. And that was 13 years ago. The NFC champion New York Giants were the 5 seed in the NFC playoffs, and the New England Patriots were obviously the number 1 seed. I mean, like, who could beat New England? They were 16-0. So it was one of the greatest Super Bowls ever and one of the biggest upsets in sports history. The Pats were 12-point favorites. That was less than the Colts in Super Bowl III in 1969. They became the first team to complete a perfect regular season since the 72 Dolphins, and the only one since the league expanded from 14 to 16 games for the regular season starting in 1978. The Giants, who were 10-6, tried to become the first NFC wildcard team to win a Super Bowl, and were looking for their third Super Bowl victory and first since Super Bowl 25 in 1991. This Super Bowl was also a rematch of the final game of the regular season, which the Pats narrowly won 38-35. And I remember watching that game, and I remember not going to a family Christmas thing because I wanted to watch the Pats play their last game of the season. I think that was an omen of things to come. But anyway, the game is best remembered for the Giants' game-winning drive. They were down 14-10, and the Giants somehow came from their 17-yard line with 2.5 minutes left and went down the field 83 yards. David Tyree made the helmet catch on third down, pinning the football with his right hand to his helmet for a 32-yard first down conversion. Plaxico Burress was the hero of that game. The game was very tight. The Giants actually got 10 minutes on their opening drive, could only get a field goal. So basically, Eli was named Super Bowl MVP. Michael Strahan retired following the victory. He had a sack. And this was the first time since 1975, Super Bowl IX, which neither team scored 20 points. The Steelers beat the Vikings that game 16-6. It's the first Super Bowl and only one to date with 3 fourth-quarter lead changes. NFL.com's 100 Greatest Games named it number 5, the highest ranked of any Super Bowl. And Tyree's catch was number 3 on the greatest plays of all time. 97.5 million viewers watched the game on Fox, which was a record. So the University of Phoenix stadium was ready to go. This was I believe, the first time that the new Arizona stadium would actually be used for the Super Bowl. Well, the finalists were Washington, Phoenix, and Tampa. So basically, yeah. There were proposals for a new football stadium for the Giants and Jets and would have a roof on it. Concourse to host future Super Bowls. But anyway, yeah. So the venue was in University of Phoenix. This Super Bowl 42 was the second time it was played in a retractable roof stadium. The first was played at Reliant Stadium in Houston for Super Bowl 38, which the Pats beat the Panthers on a last-second field goal by Vinatieri. So the roof was closed for the entire day because of rain in the forecast. So yeah, it was pretty nice and all that. So the New York Giants in 2007 had low expectations. Tiki Barber just retired. And the Giants had basically now won a playoff game for 7 years. The last time they won a playoff game was the NFC title game, which they blew out the Vikings 41-0, and won in a moment I did on this day thing in January. Eli, who was paid in younger brother, struggled for consistency. He didn't really do that well. And he couldn't do the same level of success as fellow 2004 draftees Phil Rivers or Ben Roethlisberger. The Giants lost the first 2 games of their regular season, but they got a 6-game winning streak, and they were 10-6. They got a wild card bid, all that. Unfortunately, they had Mateus Kiwoka, the defensive end, and the tight end Jeremy Shockey lost to injury. The Giants played their final game of the regular season at home against the Patriots, who were lucky to go 16-0. The Giants already made the playoffs and all that, but Conklin decided to have the New York Giants play every day, every play. And the Giants only lost by 3. It actually rejuvenated the Giants and made them a playoff run. Manning would lead the team to road playoff wins in Tampa, Dallas, and Green Bay without throwing even one pick. This was amazing. Eli had over 3,300 yards, but 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Not a good ratio. Plaxico Burress caught 70 passes for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Amani Toomer, who was one of only 2 players remaining from the 2001 Giants squad that made the Super Bowl, did pretty well, and so did Jeremy Shockey before his injury. Brandon Jacobs was one of the best running backs. He was 6'4", which is weird, because running backs usually are smaller than that. But the Giants' defense had Justin Tuck, Ozzy Umenara, and Michael Strahan. And basically, they were fantastic and all that. Strahan in the 2007 season, and as I said that Amani Toomer was one of the 2 Giants who were held over from the 2001 Giants that went to the Super Bowl. The other was Strahan. Strahan finally broke the record for most sacks by a New York Giant, beating LT's mark. They had a good secondary. Sam Madison and Jibril Wilson, R.W. McQuarters, and all that. So the Giants became the 4th team to win the Super Bowl without playing a home game in the preceding playoffs. They joined the Packers, Chiefs, and Steelers, who have done that. The Packers and Chiefs only had to win 1 game per se. And the Pittsburgh Steelers won Super Bowl 40 by going on the road against, if I remember correctly, Cincy, Indy, and Denver. Yeah, Cincy, Indy, and Denver. And then they beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl 40, which was a little controversial. Oh, no. Is that who I think it is? Damn it. I thought you were on vacation. I'm back from vacation. Oh, great. You're back from vacation, aren't you, Mr. Dowder? Yes, I am. All right. Spill it. What do you want? What about those Oakland Raiders of the 80s? Didn't they win as a wild card? They did win as a wild card. However, the Raiders hosted the 1980-81 wild card game against, I say the Houston Oilers, but I'm probably wrong. I can't remember. But yeah, they hosted the wild card game. They hosted a game. As I said, the Giants were the 4th team to win the Super Bowl without playing a single home game. And the Raiders played 1. Oh. I know, but Green Bay had to win 2 games to do this. Kansas City 3. Pittsburgh and the Giants had to do 4 to accomplish this. The Packers in 2010 did that, winning Super Bowl 45 against the Steelers, winning 3 straight road games and all that. The Packers accomplished it as a 6th seed, while the Giants were a 5th seed and all that. The Giants were the only NFC team to make multiple Super Bowl appearances in the 2000s. Since starting with the Rams in 2001, 9 different NFC teams represented the conference in the past 9 seasons of the decade. So basically, after the Rams in Super Bowl 36, it went Rams, Bucks, Panthers, Eagles, Seahawks, Bears, Giants, Cardinals, Saints, Packers, Giants. Which was pretty good. Giants wouldn't be right. No, sorry, it was 9 seasons. So 9 straight NFC teams made it. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots were looking to go 19-0 and be undefeated. Only the 4th time in NFL history that a team was undefeated and untied in the regular season. And they did it the hard way because the 72 Dolphins had 14 games in the regular season, which they all won. The Pats had to do it 16 times. The Pats scored 589 points and all that. That's an average of 36.8 a game. But it was broken by the 2013 Broncos. But karma bit the Broncos in the butt as the Seahawks won that Super Bowl. 75 total touchdowns and a net differential of 315 points. Basically, they scored 315 points more than their opponent. Some say that it was a trend because of the legal realignment in 2002. However, Tom Brady was the NFL MVP. 4,806 yards, 50 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, which was amazing. Brady's improved numbers were because of Randy Moss and Wes Welker. Moss got his act together after some tumultuous times at Oakland, and Wes Welker, Miami just didn't think of it. So Patriots required Moss for a 4th-round pick. And Moss delivered. He almost got 100 receptions. He almost got 1,500 yards. He was just short on both occasions, but he got 23 touchdown catches, which is a record. Patriots gave Miami a 2nd and 7th-round pick for Welker, and Welker got 8 touchdown catches with 112 receptions. Amazing. However, Dante Stallworth and Ben Watson also were contributors to the offense. Lawrence Mahaly was their star running back. Kevin Falk was still around, which was amazing. And the Patriots' offensive line had Logan Mankins, Matt Light, and Dan Coppin. The Patriots' defensive line was led by Vince Wilfork, who finally got to a Pro Bowl. And they had a good set of linebackers. Mike Vrabel, Darius Thomas, the late, great Junior Seau, and Teddy Bruschi. And the secondary did fine with Asante Samuel. So, we'll take a look at the 2008 playoffs before we get to a very special moment. So anyway, the 2007-08 playoffs had this in mind. Had been like this. In the wild card round, as we all know, the Giants, the 5 seed, they didn't win their division. That was Dallas. So they had to go on the road to face Tampa, who won the NFC South, and beat Tampa 24-14. Although, to be fair, I kind of figured the Giants were going to win. And the other one, NFC wildcard game, Seattle as the 3 seed crushed Washington to find powder by 3 touchdowns. Over the AFC, San Diego, the 3 seed, took care of Tennessee 17-6, whereas Jacksonville shocked everyone, including themselves, by beating Pittsburgh in the wildcard round. Jacksonville of all teams. So in the NFC, the 5 seed Giants took on the number 1 seed Dallas Cowboys, who basically sat out a lot of players in their final game, regular season game, and they had some kind of vacation in Mexico and all that, and people were mad at Tony Romo for doing that and for being with Jessica Simpson. They called Jessica Simpson Yoko Romo. Unfortunately, though, the Giants would go over to Dallas 21-17. Thankfully, Terrell Owens actually came in defense of his quarterback, even though he rarely did see his relationship with Donovan McNabb. The Packers crushed Seattle in the fine powder of 42-20 in the other NFC divisional round game. So it meant the Giants had to go to Green Bay and play at Lambeau Field. Meanwhile, in the AFC, San Diego, the 3 seed, shocked number 2 Indianapolis 28-24, despite Phillip Rivers getting an Achilles tear. New England would beat Jacksonville, not by a lot, only by 11. So Phillip Rivers tried to play hurt for the Chargers in New England in the AFC title game. Pats only won by 9, so it was not a blowout. But then came the big game, the Giants versus the Packers for the NFC Championship. And people thought it was going to be Favre v. Brady. It's going to be a great matchup and a rematch from 11 years ago, the 2017. Favre took on Bledsoe. Now Favre would take on Brady. Sadly, though, the Packers slipped up. Despite Lawrence Tynes, former CFL kicker, by the way, missing a major field goal, we all thought the Packers were going to win the game in overtime. But no, Brett Favre threw a dumb interception, and basically, Tynes got another chance and kicked the winning field goal. We were pissed. So, that's nothing compared to a lot of things. And now, a very special guest has made some comments to me and all that. So, before I talk about this guy and his contributions to this video, Let's play a promotional video for his Facebook group.
Do you like the New York Rangers? Do you like no bullshit talk about the New York Rangers? Do you want to be in a group that deals with cast of characters? Then this is the program for you. It's Blue Shirt Underground Radio with Jim and Eddie. Take it away, Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Downer. Blue Shirt Underground Radio, created in 2009 on Blog Talk Radio for New York Ranger fans to talk about their team. And two simpletons named Jim Schmiedenberg and Eddie Geik got together and merged their talents to bring on a show that was a Blog Talk Radio staple for more than 11 years until the move to Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget, they're on YouTube weekly. They talk about the New York Rangers. There's skits, there's talks, there's sound clips, there's Shut Up Cutter. And even though I am technically a Leaf fan, I make a lot of contributions to the Blue Shirt Underground radio show, and I make a lot of contributions towards New York Rangers history and all that. Can't beat that. So join Jim and Eddie for the Blue Shirt Underground Facebook and YouTube page. You will not be disappointed. And now back to the video. So basically, I decided to reach out to Jim Schmiedenberg because he's the only true Giants fan I know. And I basically figured he would talk about this. So I Facebook messaged Jim my information. So basically, I just got to get back to it and do a few things here. So don't worry about it. So basically, I knew that Jim Schmiedenberg was going to be a menace to society, if you will. So as one half of Blue Shirt Underground Radio, he always talks about Giants, which is the weird thing because Eddie Geik is a stone cold New York Jets fan, and basically he doesn't like how people portray his New York Jets. I even bitch and moan about him. So basically what you're going to see coming up in a little bit is the actual conversation. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So anyway, I talked to him, and this is the conversation. I need your input. I am doing another On This Day video for February 3rd, which of course is the anniversary of Super Bowl 42. I want to tell it from a Giants fan point of view, and you're the most approachable one. I need to know three things. A, the feeling about after the Giants winning the NFC title game against Green Bay and how you guys were looking forward to the Pats. B, the feeling of the Giants and their fans before the game. And C, how would you describe the actual game? I said I would plug Blue Shirt Underground. Anyway, Jim said this. After the Giants beat Green Bay, I was 100% confident they were going to win the Super Bowl. Their defense was playing lights out, and the Giants gave the Pats a really rough time in the final game of the season. I knew the Giants could slow them down, and I felt that as long as the Giants could move the ball, they would win. The game was a roller coaster, the most exciting I've ever felt during a sporting event other than 1994 Game 7. Of course, that is basically the storyline with Blue Shirt Underground because, you know, New York Rangers stuff and everything else in mind. And basically, to be a Giants fan is better than being a Patriots fan because maybe in New York State, because maybe, you know, it would be terrible. And as the great Eddie Geik would say, child abuse. So, yeah. Anyway, I can't really get Eddie's voice down, but anyway. He sounds so weird and whiny. We gotta get to the Ranger fans. We have to be Bakaka. We have to be who we have to be. That's true. But anyway, yeah. So Jim was kind enough to give us that quote. So anyhow, let's get more into the pregame notes. So basically, they were really heavily favored to win the game. Well, obviously. Some people did predict the Giants could win I remember reading Sports Illustrated because I got a subscription at that time, and said, what would Dr. C would say? Well, what do the Giants have to do to take down the Patriots? Use their defense. To this day, I have never forgiven Paul Zimmerman for that stuff. Anyway, the Giants actually won 10 straight road wins, including 5 teams that really were favored to beat them. So basically, the Patriots and Giants did face each other in the last week of the regular season. But basically, it was heavily watched. NFL Network wanted to do it, the Saturday night coverage, but because it was so big, CBS and NBC actually broadcast rights, and both networks had the game, saying that the first time that the NFL game was broadcast on 3 networks at the same time. And the first game to be simulcast on a national level since Super Bowl I, when CBS and NBC broadcast the game at the same time. So anyway, this would be the 3rd time in 4 years that the team would play its eventual AFC opponent during that year's regular season. Really. Both of the prior occasions saw the Giants beat said opponents in the Super Bowl, beating Denver Super Bowl 21 and Buffalo Super Bowl 25, which meant that Buffalo faced the Giants in the regular season in Super Bowl in the 90-91 season, and the Broncos and Giants met in the 86-87. I'm like, what? Really? Giants didn't face the Ravens in the regular season before their Super Bowl blowout loss. So anyway, things were huge and all that. The Patriots decided to wear their home Navy uniforms with silver pants, and the Giants wore their white jerseys. As my good friend Bill Lang said, the Patriots were much better wearing white, and that's why the Patriots probably lost. Yeah, right. Anyway, Fox had the broadcast of the game because of the cycle between the 3 broadcasts, NBC, CBS, and Fox. There were a lot of things going on and all that. It is the 2nd most watched TV program of all time in the United States. And all that, with 114 million viewers. But of course, the population is growing. Internationally, there were a lot of people and all that. CTV had the Canadian broadcast, which was simulcast with Fox. Meanwhile, Dick Stockton and Sterling Sharp would do the international feed and all that. Radio had some stuff and all that. Different languages: American English, Mexican Spanish, British, Japanese, Russian, and Mandarin. So anyway, yeah. So Willie Nelson performed at a pregame tailgate party. Jordan Sparks, who won American Idol Season 6, and daughter of former Giants cornerback Philippe Sparks, performed the national anthem. It was amazing. The coin toss honored Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Bill Walsh, who passed away early in the year. So anyway, halftime was huge. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers would be named the halftime winners and all that. Some say the Eagles, the band the Eagles, would actually be there, but they turned it down. So Tom Petty would be basically the halftime entertainment. All that. A lot of people did kind of insult the Tom Brady for that. No, Tom Petty for that, because it's like the NFL went with Tom Petty, an older athlete. I mean, an older singer. But you can blame Nipplegate for that. So anyway, the Giants were heroes and all that. The game started off, Lawrence Tynes kicked the field goal in the first quarter to make it 3-0. But Lawrence Mahoney, a short touchdown dive, it was 7-3. And it was 7-3 for 3 quarters. It was like, wow, this is a defensive showdown. The Giants got back with 11 minutes left on a Tyree catch from Eli Manning, make it 10-7. Pats got their own back after a 5-minute drive. We saw Randy Moss catch a touchdown catch. And then, of course, as everyone knows, Eli ducked a couple sack attempts and threw the ball to David Tyree, and basically he made that helmet catch because he looked like he might have lost the ball to Ronnie Harrison of the Pats. So basically, that's what happened. And Plaxico Burress caught the winning touchdown, 17-14. I have never heard this. Super Bowl 42 would be one of the most iconic Super Bowls ever in history. Until the Giants set the record, 11 straight road wins, including the playoffs in a single season. The Giants matchup in Week 8 was an official Giants road game because it was supposed to be in Miami, but of course they played in England. All that, and the Giants were classified as the road team for Super Bowl 42 because the NFC teams would serve as the road team in even numbered years. Wes Welker made 11 catches in the Super Bowl to tie the record set by Dan Ross, Jerry Rice, and Deion Branch. Brady, with his touchdown pass to Moss, actually became the fourth quarterback to get 4 different Super Bowls with a touchdown pass, joining Roger Staubach, Joe Montana, and Terry Bradshaw. And he became the 6th quarterback to start 4 Super Bowls, and joining Montana, Bradshaw, Staubach, Jim Kelly, and John Elway. So, basically, yeah. So, kind of pathetic, if you will. But unfortunately for Pats fans, the next time the Giants and Pats faced each other in the regular season was also a Super Bowl matchup. And unfortunately, the Giants took care of the Pats once again, 21-17, if memory serves me right. So basically, I had to eat crow as the Giants took care of my Pats for the second time. 4 years. The Giants have not been to the Super Bowl since 2012, and the Pats have been several times since that 2012 debacle. 2015, when they beat the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks deserved it and should have ran the ball in for the touchdown instead of trying to pass it. 2017, when they took care of the. Who did we take care of? Because I know darn tooting that 2018 they went to try to go for the repeat, but they lost to the Eagles. 2019 they beat the Rams, and then of course they didn't get in last year. Pats didn't even make the playoffs this year, which kind of sucks in a sense. But yeah, the New York Giants, hail to the Giants. They pulled off one of the biggest modern day football upsets in history. And damn you, Schmiedenberg. Damn you to hell. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.